The voicemail light blinked on my phone like a tiny beacon of karma. 3 missed calls from the number I'd blocked years ago, and now this message waiting to be heard. I let it sit there while I finished my morning coffee, watching the sunrise through the floor-to-ceiling windows of my custom-built home. The home they said I'd never have. My name is Trinity, and I learned early that some parents measure love in degrees of ability. Mine had 2 daughters, me and my perfectly able-bodied sister Livia. Guess which one got the college fund? I pressed play on the voicemail, my father's voice crackling through the speaker. Trinity, it's Dad. We need to talk. It's urgent. Your mother and I, we've hit some trouble. Livia's company. Well, we need your house, Trinity. You're the only one who can help. I laughed so hard my coffee nearly spilled. The irony was delicious, better than the organic Brazilian roast in my custom-height mug holder. Everything okay? Aaron called from his makeshift office in my guest room. He'd been crashed here all week while we finished a major consulting project. Remember when I told you karma would eventually come knocking? I wheeled over to his doorway. Well, it just left a voicemail. Aaron looked up from his laptop, eyebrows raised. The parents who said you'd never amount to anything need something from you. Do tell. Apparently, their golden child startup tanked. I pulled up beside his desk, showing him the local business news article I'd already found. Live It, the revolutionary self-affirmation app that was going to make them all millionaires, the one they emptied my college fund to invest in, the same college fund they promised was untouchable. Aaron's face darkened. He'd been there that day 5 years ago when I discovered the truth. The very same. I closed my eyes, the memory sharp as broken glass. It's just business, Trinity, my father had said, not even looking at me as he signed the papers. Livia's app has real potential. Your fund, well, it was just sitting there. You understand, don't you? She's sitting there for my education, I'd replied, my hands gripping my wheelchair arms so tight my knuckles went white. For my future. My mother had the audacity to pat my shoulder. Honey, be realistic. In your condition, what kind of future were you really planning? The sound of Aaron snapping his fingers brought me back. Earth to Trinity. You went somewhere dark just now. Just remembering the day they told me I wasn't worth investing in. I smiled, but it wasn't a happy expression. Now they need my investment, my house, the one I built with the consulting business they said would never work. My phone buzzed again. Another call from my father. I let it ring. What are you thinking? Aaron asked, knowing that look in my eyes. I wheeled to the window, surveying my domain. Every inch of this house was designed for independence, for survival, for success on my own terms. The adaptive features weren't just functional, they were beautiful. Like me, they refused to be hidden away. I'm thinking about the guest suite, I said slowly, the one we never finished, the one that's still bare concrete and exposed pipes. Trinity, they always treated me like I was barely more than furniture. Maybe it's time they learned what that feels like. My phone lit up with a text from Livia. Please answer Dad's calls. They really need help. Don't be petty. Petty. Like when they skipped my college graduation because Livia had a startup pitch meeting, or when they forgot my surgery date because they were at her app launch party. I turned to Aaron. My decision made. Call Lara. Tell her I need a part-time nurse for 2 new residents. And get me the number for that minimalist furniture store, the one that specialises in institutional settings. You're really going to let them move in? Oh, yes, I smiled, wheeling toward my office where the house blueprints were stored. But they're about to learn that karma isn't just a concept. Sometimes it's architectural. My phone buzzed one final time. A voicemail from my mother. Trinity, please, we have nowhere else to go. Your father's health, we need you. Need. Such a powerful word. They never needed me before, not when I needed them. But now they'd learn exactly what need feels like. in stark, sterile, stripped bare detail. I picked up my phone and began to type. "Dear Dad, I'll help. Move-in date is next week. But remember, my house, my rules, just like you always taught me. Send. Let the lessons begin." "So what exactly was Leave It supposed to do?" Aaron asked, scrolling through the app's defunct website. We were taking a break from planning the guest suite renovation, surrounded by blueprints and material samples. "Oh, you'll love this." I pulled up the promotional video on my tablet. "Watch." Livia's face filled the screen, all perfect makeup and practiced sincerity. "Life is hard. But with Live It, you can transform negative thoughts into positive affirmations. Just speak your worries into the app, and our AI will generate personalized mantras to help you overcome any obstacle." Aaron snorted coffee through his nose. "Any obstacle? Like maybe parents who drain your college fund?" "Shh, wait for the best part." Livia's voice continued, syrupy sweet. "For just $9.99 a month, you can access our premium features, including daily motivation alerts and our exclusive gratitude journal function." $75,000, I said, closing the video. That's what they gave her. My entire future invested in an app that basically just spat out fortune cookie messages. And now they're broke? Aaron started gathering up the renovation plans. According to public records, they mortgaged their house to keep the company afloat. Then Dad's diagnosis came. I wheeled over to my desk, pulling up the email I'd received from their family doctor, an old connection who still remembered me. Early onset Parkinson's. Mum's recovering from spinal surgery. They can't afford their medical bills, let alone their mortgage. And Livia, living with some venture capitalist boyfriend. Apparently she's finding herself after the startup failure. I laughed, but it came out hollow. She always was good at finding others to take care of her. My phone buzzed. Another text from my sister. "They're selling the house, Trin. Please talk to them. They need somewhere safe." Safe. Like I felt safe when they left me alone in the hospital after my surgeries, when they missed my physical therapy appointments because Livia had dance recitals. "You know what kills me," I said, staring at the text. "They never once visited this house, never saw what I built. But now it's suddenly good enough for them?" Aaron leaned against my desk. "You don't have to do this." "Actually, I do." I pulled out the old photo I kept in my desk drawer, me at 18, sitting alone at my high school graduation. They need to understand what it feels like, to be an afterthought, to exist in spaces not designed for your comfort. The doorbell rang. It was Lara, the nurse I'd hired, clipboard in hand. "I reviewed their medical files," she said, settling into a chair. "Your father needs specific accommodations for his tremors. Your mother's mobility will be limited during recovery." "I know." I handed her the renovation plans. "That's why the bathroom will have basic safety rails. The beds will be hospital grade. Everything necessary for survival, nothing for comfort." Lara's eyebrows rose slightly as she reviewed the specs. "The room dimensions are minimal, like their love," I said flatly. My phone rang, Dad again. This time I answered. "Trinity?" His voice shook. "Thank God, we need to discuss arrangements. The suite will be ready next week," I cut in. "Nurse Lara will help with basic care. You'll have a bed, bathroom and microwave." "But that's all. That's all you need, isn't it? Just the basics. Anything more would be unrealistic, given your condition." The silence on the other end was deafening. Finally he spoke. "We're your parents, Trinity." "Are you? Funny, I remember you telling the country club you had one healthy child. I remember Mum saying a dog was worth more love than me because at least it could walk." My voice remained steady. "Parents are supposed to invest in their children's futures. You invested in an app." "That was business," he protested weakly. "No, Dad, that was a choice. And now you get to live with it. See you next week." I hung up before he could respond. Aaron and Lara were staring at me. "What?" I asked. "Nothing," Aaron said, but his eyes were proud. "Just wondering if we should frame that college fund withdrawal slip somewhere in their room." "Don't tempt me," I turned to Lara. "They arrive Tuesday. Everything needs to be ready, stark, sterile, and stripped of comfort, like living in an insurance photo." "Understood." Lara gathered her papers. "And Trinity, for what it's worth, I've seen a lot of family caregiving situations. Most people would just say no." "This isn't caregiving," I corrected her, wheeling toward the window. "This is education. They're about to learn exactly what it feels like when someone decides your comfort doesn't matter." After they left, I sat in my beautiful living room, surrounded by the adaptive luxury I'd built for myself. Soon, my parents would sleep on thin mattresses behind bare walls, while I enjoyed the home they said I'd never have. They were going to get exactly what they thought I was worth, not a penny more. "The walls need to be beige," I told the painters. "Not cream, not off-white. Industrial beige, like a DMV waiting room." The guest suite transformation was nearly complete. What was once meant to be a warm, welcoming space had become a masterpiece of discomfort, all while remaining perfectly legal and ADA compliant. Lara walked through making notes. "The hospital beds arrived this morning. Basic linens, no decorative pillows. The fluorescent lighting is intense." "Good." I wheeled around the space, checking every detail. "How's the bathroom?" "Safety rails installed, basic shower chair. The mirror," she hesitated, "is positioned just slightly too high for comfortable wheelchair use," I finished, like every mirror in every house I visited growing up. Aaron appeared in the doorway carrying a box. "Look what I found in storage. Your old physical therapy schedules, the ones with all the missed appointments marked in red." "Perfect." I took them, already planning where to display them, right next to their beds. The sound of a car pulling up made us all pause. Through the window I watched Livia step out of her Tesla, designer sunglasses hiding half her face. "Incoming," Aaron muttered. I met her at the door before she could ring the bell. "You're early." "Jesus, Trinity." She pushed past me into the house. "I had to see this set up for myself. They're our parents, not prisoners. Follow me." I led her to the suite, watching her face as she took in every deliberately austere detail. "This is cruel," she said, running her hand along the bare concrete wall. "Where are the windows?" "Covered, like my future was when you took my college fund." "That again? It was business. And anyway, the app would have succeeded if..." "If what?" I cut in. "If the market understood your vision. If people actually wanted to pay $10 a month for automated positive thinking. Face it, Livia, you failed. And you took my future down with you." She spun around, finger pointed. "At least I tried to make something of myself, while you just sat there." "Careful," Aaron warned from the doorway, his voice low. Livia caught herself, but the damage was done. I wheeled closer, my voice deadly calm. "Just sat there. I built a consulting empire while you played entrepreneur with my money. I designed this house while you designed emoji affirmations. The only thing I've been sitting on is this revenge." "They're sick," she pleaded. "Dad can barely hold a cup some days." "Really? The tremors must make it hard to function, to feel normal, to be independent. Imagine that." Lara cleared her throat. "The medication schedule is posted by the beds. Basic care will be provided twice daily." "Basic care!" Livia exploded. "They need more than basic care. They need their daughter." "No," I said quietly. "They need karma, and she's finally home." A text alert chimed, the security company letting me know my parents' car had just turned onto my street. "Perfect timing," I said, wheeling toward my private wing. "Aaron, show them in. Lara, begin the intake process. Livia, you can stay or go. Like always, it's your choice." "Trinity, wait," but I was already gone, leaving them to handle the arrival. Through the security cameras, I watched my father struggle out of their old Volvo, his hands shaking as he gripped his cane. My mother moved slowly, her back brace visible under her shirt. They looked smaller somehow, older, more fragile. Good. Aaron led them inside while Lara explained the setup. Their faces fell as they entered the suite, eyes scanning the institutional furniture, the bare walls, the covered windows. But where are the rest of the rooms? My mother asked. This is your space, Lara explained professionally. The main house is Miss Trinity's private area. We can't live like this, my father protested. Actually, you can, Aaron said. Just like Trinity lived with what you gave her. Funny how that works. I watched them sink onto their separate beds, the reality of their situation finally hitting home. My mother began to cry. My father stared at the physical therapy schedules on the wall, his hands trembling more violently. Livia stood in the doorway, looking lost. This isn't right, she whispered. No, I agreed through the intercom, making them all jump. It's not right. It wasn't right when they abandoned me at hospitals. It wasn't right when they stole my future. It wasn't right when they treated me like a burden instead of a daughter. But here we are. I switched off the camera feed and wheeled to my sunroom, my sanctuary. Through the glass ceiling, I watched clouds drift past, remembering all the times I dreamed of this moment. Revenge wasn't supposed to feel this heavy, this necessary, this just. But as I heard my mother's muffled sobs echo through the walls, I smiled. Sometimes justice comes with tears. Sometimes karma needs architects. And sometimes daughters need to teach their parents how to live with what they're given. Day 3 of my parents' stay, and the walls were already closing in. I could hear my mother's voice through the monitoring system, thin and desperate. William, I can't sleep with that fluorescent light. It never turns off. The nurse said it's for safety, my father replied, because of my condition. Just like the lights they'd leave on in my room, claiming it was for my own good. Even when I begged for darkness, Lara's morning report sat on my desk. Patient W experiencing increased tremors due to stress. Patient K requesting additional pain medication, denied per schedule. How are they adapting? I asked when she arrived for the afternoon check. Your father spent an hour trying to adjust his bed away from the blank wall. Your mother keeps asking about window access. Lara's face remained professional, but her eyes held understanding. They're not used to being uncomfortable. No, I agreed. They're used to making others uncomfortable. The intercom crackled. My mother's voice, Trinity, please, can we talk? I pressed the response button. Nurse Lara is available for all necessary communication. We're your parents. Really? I have some medical bills from 2018 that suggest otherwise. Silence, then soft crying. I wheeled away from the intercom toward my office where Aaron was working. Your sister called, he said without looking up, 3 times. Did she mention how her boyfriend's yacht trip is going? Actually, she's living in his pool house now. Apparently the relationship is complicated. I laughed. Everything's complicated when you run out of other people's money. My phone buzzed. A text from Livia. Mum's crying every night. Dad can barely eat. Is this what you wanted? I typed back. Remember when Mom said she loved the dog more than me because it could walk? Karma's a better trainer than any app. The response was immediate. You're being cruel. No, I replied. I'm being educational. A crash from the guest suite interrupted our exchange. Through the security feed, I watched my father struggling to pick up a fallen water glass, his trembling hands making the task impossible. Need help? I asked through the intercom. Please, he whispered. Interesting. I needed help too, once, at my college orientation. Remember that day? Oh, wait, you were at Livia's app investor meeting. The glass stayed on the floor. Later that evening, I heard my mother on the phone with her sister. It's like a prison, Margaret. Our own daughter. I don't understand how she could... I pressed the intercom. Funny, I said the same thing about parents who drain their disabled daughter's college fund. Life's full of mysteries. The call ended abruptly. Aaron found me in the sunroom, staring at the stars through my glass ceiling. You okay? Did you know they used to lock my wheelchair in the garage when company came? Said it ruined the house's aesthetic. I turned to face him. Now they're the ones hidden away. Poetic, isn't it? A notification popped up on my phone. A direct deposit alert. My consulting firm had just landed another major contract. Should we tell them, Aaron asked, about how successful you've become? They'll figure it out. Every time they hear my heels clicking on marble floors, they can't access. Every time they smell gourmet meals, they can't share. I smiled. Success is best served in small, painful portions. The night brought more tears from my mother's room. Through the cameras, I watched her pace their small space, touching the walls like they might give way if she pressed hard enough. My father sat on his bed, staring at the physical therapy schedules. Catherine, he said suddenly, do you remember this date, July 15th? What about it? It was Trinity's spinal surgery. We were at Livia's product launch. We sent flowers, my mother said weakly. I pressed the intercom. Actually, you didn't, but the night nurse brought me a vending machine candy bar. It was more than you managed. The silence that followed was heavy enough to crack concrete. A new text from Livia lit up my phone. They made mistakes. We all did. But this punishment, I cut her off mid-message, isn't punishment. It's perspective. They're getting exactly what they gave. The bare minimum. The essential care. The technical fulfillment of obligation without the warmth of love. Sound familiar? You're better than this, she wrote back. No, I replied. I'm exactly what they made me. And now they get to live in the house that indifference built. I wheeled through my beautiful home, past the adaptive kitchen where I cooked gourmet meals, past the custom office where I built my empire, past all the success they said I'd never have. From their suite, I heard my mother's voice, small and broken. Trinity, please, we understand now. I pressed the intercom one last time. No, Mom, you're just beginning to understand. Sleep well, the lights stay on. Then I turned off the monitor and wheeled away, leaving them to their education in empathy. The sound of my front door slamming echoed through the house like a gunshot. I didn't need the security feed to know who it was. Livia's designer heels clicked against my marble floors like angry exclamation points. Where are you? She shouted. We need to talk, now. I met her in the kitchen, where I was preparing my morning smoothie. Indoor voice, Liv. This isn't one of your start-up pitches. Have you seen them? She threw her bag onto my counter. Actually seen them? Dad can barely hold a fork. Mum hasn't slept in days. I've seen everything. I gestured to my monitoring tablet, including Mum's little prayer session where she asked God why she was cursed with a broken daughter. That was yesterday, around 3 p.m. You're recording them, like they recorded my therapy sessions to prove I wasn't trying hard enough to walk. I took a sip of my smoothie. Want a tour of what they're missing? Without waiting for an answer, I led her through my house, past the state-of-the-art adaptive kitchen, through the voice-controlled entertainment room, into my home office with its wall of industry awards. This is what their investment could have built, I said, watching her face. Instead, they bought your affirmation app. How many downloads did it get before failing? 100? 2? 93, she whispered. But that's not... 93 people paid $10 to have a computer tell them they matter. Meanwhile, my consulting firm just signed a $1 million contract to make Fortune 500 companies accessible to everyone. I wheeled closer. You got my legs while I got your pity. How's that working out for everyone? You're better than this, she tried again. This revenge is exactly what I earned, what I built, what I designed, down to the last uncomfortable detail. Aaron appeared in the doorway. Everything okay in here? I heard shouting. Just giving my sister a tour, I said sweetly, showing her what real success looks like without stealing someone else's future. Livia's face reddened. You want to talk about stealing? How about stealing our parents' dignity, their comfort, their what? I cut in. Their ability to move freely, their independence, their sense of worth. Welcome to my childhood, sis. How does it feel from the other side? They're sick. They're experiencing consequences. There's a difference. I wheeled to a locked door, the one leading to my private sunroom. Want to see what they could have had? I pressed my code into the keypad. The door swung open to reveal a stunning space filled with natural light, adaptive furniture, and every comfort imaginable. A paradise of accessibility and luxury. This, I said quietly, was meant for family, when I thought I had one. Livia stood speechless, taking in the contrast between this room and our parents' suite. You know what Mom told her friends at the country club, I continued, that they had one healthy child. One. Like I didn't exist. Like I was a shadow they had to explain away. I didn't know, she whispered. Of course you didn't. You were too busy being perfect, being whole, being worth investing in. The intercom crackled. My father's voice. Livia, is that you? I pressed the response button. Family meeting in progress, Dad. Nurse Lara will be there for your afternoon check soon. Please, he began, but I cut the feed. You're torturing them, Livia said. No, I'm teaching them. Every bare wall, every sleepless night, every moment of discomfort, it's all carefully designed, like they designed my isolation. Aaron cleared his throat. Trinity, maybe what? I spun to face him. Maybe I should forgive them, like they forgave my body for betraying their perfect family image, like they forgave me for needing help, for needing love, for needing anything. The silence stretched between us like a taut wire. Finally, Livia spoke. They told people they had one healthy child. Among other things, want to hear about the dog comment, or maybe how they explained away my empty seat at your graduation dinner. She sank into a chair, her perfect posture crumbling. I never knew. I was so focused on my dreams, my future. My money, I added helpfully. I'll pay you back, she said quickly. Once I get back on my feet, keep it. I wheeled to the sunroom door. Consider it the price of this education. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a video call with actual paying clients. As I closed the door, I heard her last whispered words. What have we done? I smiled, remembering all the times I'd asked myself the same question. The difference was, I knew exactly what I was doing, and I wasn't done yet. Your father had another episode last night, Lara reported, handing me her tablet. The tremors were severe enough that he couldn't take his medication without assistance. I scrolled through the night's logs. And my mother? Asked for sleeping pills again. When I refused, she spent 3 hours sitting in the hallway crying. Through the monitors, I watched them now. My father struggling to button his shirt. My mother staring at the blank wall like it might suddenly sprout windows. You're a toxic daughter, my father had shouted yesterday, his frustration finally boiling over. A vindictive, cruel... I'd cut the intercom before he could finish. Cruel was watching your child struggle alone. Toxic was choosing another child's dreams over your first child's needs. Aaron walked in with coffee and a concerned expression. The assisted living facility called. They have 2 rooms available next month. Perfect timing, I said, taking the coffee. This lesson's almost learned. A notification popped up on my phone. An email from my mother's sister. What you're doing is inhuman. They're your parents. I typed back. Funny how family obligations only matter when they need something from me. The morning passed in a blur of work calls and project reviews. My consulting firm was expanding, our client list growing. Success, it turned out, was the best revenge. Around noon, Lara's voice came through my office intercom. "Trinity, your mother's asking for you. She seems different." I switched to the security feed. My mother sat on her bed, holding an old photograph I hadn't noticed her bringing. Even through the grainy footage, I recognized it. My 10th birthday, the last one before they stopped celebrating them. "I need to visit someone," I told Aaron, grabbing my keys. The cemetery was quiet this time of day. I wheeled up to Rosalie's grave, laying a single rose against the stone. My old teacher, the only one who saw past my wheelchair to the mind behind it. "You were right," I said to the granite marker, "about building a life they couldn't touch, about making them wish they could. Success isn't just about proving them wrong," Rosalie had told me once. "It's about proving yourself right." When I returned home, Lara met me at the door. "Your mother's been asking for her medication early, says the pain is worse." "Stick to the schedule," I replied. "Pain needs time to teach its lessons." But something felt different. The air in the house was heavier, charged with an emotion I couldn't name. Late that night, unable to sleep, I wheeled silently through my dark house. As I passed their suite, I heard my mother's voice, thin and broken. "Do you remember her first wheelchair, William? The little pink one?" "Catherine, don't—" "She decorated it with stickers, made it pretty. While we were so focused on fixing her, we never saw how she was fixing herself." I stopped listening. "We failed her," my father's voice cracked. "Not the other way around." "I keep thinking about that dog comment I made," my mother whispered. "How could I? My own daughter." "We chose wrong," he replied. "Every time we chose wrong." I heard movement, then my mother's voice again. "I need to tell her, now. I don't care what time it is." The door opened. My mother stepped into the hallway, freezing when she saw me there. "Trinity," she breathed. "Looking for something, Mom? More comfort? More medication? More chances?" She sank to the floor, eye level with my chair for the first time in years. "No, just you. I need you to know—" "What? That you're sorry? That you understand now? That living in a bare room with minimal comfort is somehow enlightening? That we never deserved you," she whispered. "Not then, not now, not ever." The words hung between us like smoke. "You win," she continued, tears falling freely. "We see it now. What we did, what we were, what we lost." I wheeled closer, looking down at the woman who had looked down on me for so long. "This was never about winning, Mom. It was about learning. Please," she reached for my hand. I pulled back. "Nurse Lara will take you back to your room," I said, pressing the call button. "Tomorrow we'll discuss your transfer to assisted living. This lesson's finished. Trinity—" "Good night, Mom. The lights stay on, like always." As Lara led my mother back to her room, I heard her last whispered words. "We never saw your light. We only saw our shadows." I wheeled to my sunroom, where the moon painted patterns on my floor. Tomorrow I'd make the arrangements, sign the papers, end this chapter. But tonight I sat in my victory, tasting its bittersweet flavour. Sometimes winning feels exactly like losing. Sometimes justice wears the face of grief. And sometimes the hardest lessons are the ones we teach ourselves. The assisted living facility paperwork sat on my desk like a final exam. One signature and this would all be over. But first we needed to talk, really talk. "Bring them to the living room," I told Lara. "It's time." My parents entered slowly, cautiously, like wounded animals. This was their first time seeing the main house since moving in. My mother's eyes darted around, taking in every beautiful, accessible detail. My father's hands trembled more than usual. "Sit," I said, gesturing to the couch. They sank down together, looking small against the expensive upholstery. "Before you go to assisted living, we're going to have the conversation you've avoided for 29 years. I positioned my chair directly in front of them. Let's start with the college fund. Trinity, my father began. No, I talk, you listen. I pulled out a folder. Here's the withdrawal slip, $75,000, my future converted into startup capital for an app that failed in 6 months. Want to explain that decision? My mother's hands twisted in her lap. We thought Livia's idea seemed so promising. More promising than your disabled daughter's education, than her independence, than her worth. We were wrong, my father whispered. Wrong doesn't cover it, Dad. You can't unbuild a wheelchair with a whisper. Aaron appeared in the doorway, watching silently. He'd seen me practice this speech 12 times, but this was the real performance. Every time I needed you, you chose her, I continued. Every surgery, every therapy session, every milestone, you were absent. Do you know who held my hand? After operations, nurses, strangers. Because my parents were too busy attending pitch meetings. We thought we were investing in the future, my father protested weakly. No, you were betting against mine. Because a broken daughter wasn't worth betting on, was she, Mom? My mother flinched. I never meant... You meant every word, every absence, every time you told your friends you had one healthy child. Every time you locked my wheelchair away when company came. Every time you chose her dreams over my needs. Please, my mother sobbed, we understand now. Do you? Do you understand what it's like to be treated like furniture? To be stored away when inconvenient? To be told your existence is a burden? I wheeled closer, because that's what your suite was designed to teach you. Every bare wall, every sleepless night, every moment of discomfort, it was all carefully architected, like you architected my isolation. My father's tremors increased. We failed you. Spectacularly, I agreed. And now you know exactly how it feels. To be dependent on others' mercy. To live in spaces not designed for your comfort. To be an afterthought in your own home. What can we do? My mother asked. How can we ever... You can't. That's the point. You can't undo years of neglect with an apology. You can't rebuild trust with regret. You can't fix what you broke just because you finally feel broken too. I pulled out the assisted living brochures. Tomorrow you'll move to Golden Meadows. Basic care, shared rooms, minimal amenities. It's what you can afford now after investing everything in Livia's dream. And us? My father asked quietly. Will we ever have a relationship? That depends on what you build from here. But understand this. I'm not the daughter you ignored anymore. I'm not the future you bet against. I'm the success you never saw coming. I handed them the facility paperwork. Sign. As they scribbled their names, my mother's tears fell on the pages. We loved you, she whispered. Badly, wrongly, but we did. Love isn't supposed to come with conditions, I replied, or accessibility issues. Aaron stepped forward. The transport will be here at 9 tomorrow. My parents stood shakily. Before they turned to leave, my father spoke. Your house, it's beautiful. Everything we said you couldn't have. I know, I cut him off. That's why you're leaving it. Lara appeared to escort them back to their suite. At the doorway, my mother turned. Trinity, thank you. For what? For teaching us, even if we didn't deserve the lesson. After they were gone, Aaron sat beside me. You okay? I stared at the signed papers at the end of this chapter. They say revenge doesn't heal anything, but sometimes it builds something new, something stronger. Like this house? Like me. Tomorrow they'd leave for Golden Meadows. Tomorrow their suite would be emptied, repainted, repurposed. Tomorrow this lesson would end. But tonight, in this moment, I felt the weight of victory, heavy, sharp, and necessary as surgery. Sometimes healing looks like letting go. Sometimes justice wears the face of goodbye. And sometimes the strongest thing you can build is the courage to close a door. The guest suite stood empty, its bare walls holding echoes of lessons learned. I wheeled through it one last time, Lara beside me with her final report. "Their intake at Golden Meadows is complete," she said. "Basic shared room, standard care package." "Any issues?" "Your mother cried. Your father stayed silent. Livia wasn't there." I nodded, running my hand along the wall where the physical therapy schedules had hung. "Keep monitoring their care, but discreetly. I'm still paying their bills, after all." "Anonymously," Lara reminded me with a small smile. "Some kinds of karma need witnesses," I said. "Others work better in silence." My phone buzzed. An email from Livia. "I get it now. I really do. Not just about them, but about me too. About what I took from you. I'm starting therapy next week." I didn't reply. Instead, I opened my laptop and continued working on my book. Designed for Dignity, Architecture as Accountability. Aaron found me there, still typing. The contractors want to know what to do with this space. I looked around the room that had served its purpose so perfectly. Turn it into a training centre for companies learning about accessibility. Let's build something useful from all this concrete and karma. Speaking of building, he handed me an envelope. "This came while you were at the facility." Inside was a custom award, clearly commissioned by my team. The inscription read, "Builder of Justice for constructing paths others didn't think possible." "They understand," Aaron said quietly. "All of us who watched you build this, your business, your home, your reckoning. We understand." The intercom buzzed. The front desk announced my next client meeting, a major tech company finally realizing accessibility wasn't optional. "Ready to change more minds?" Aaron asked. "Always." I wheeled toward my office, passing the sunroom I'd once dreamed of sharing. "You know what Rosalie told me before she died? Build a life they can't touch, then make them wish they could." I thought it was about revenge. Wasn't it? No. I stopped at my desk, looking at the photos there, me at business summits, receiving awards, cutting ribbons at accessible building launches. It was about reconstruction, taking broken pieces and building something stronger. My phone lit up with a text from the Golden Meadows nurse. "Your father asked about wheelchair-accessible activities today. Your mother joined the family support group." "Small steps," I murmured. "On newly built paths," Aaron added. The client meeting went brilliantly. Another contract signed, another building that would welcome everyone. As I reviewed the papers, a notification popped up. Someone had finally responded to my mother's old country club post about having one healthy child. My reply was simple. She had 2 children. One learned to build despite barriers. The other built barriers despite learning. Guess which one succeeded? The responses flooded in, but I closed the app. Some conversations don't need audiences. Instead, I wheeled to my window wall, watching the sunset paint my accessible paradise in shades of victory. On my desk, the book manuscript grew longer, each chapter a blueprint for accountability. "You're not going to visit them?" Lara asked, dropping off her final paperwork. "No." I signed her last check, adding a generous bonus. Some distances need to stay measured. Some lessons need to settle. And Livia has her own rebuilding to do. After Lara left, I sat in my sunroom, surrounded by the luxury of independence, the space my parents never got to enjoy, the home they said I'd never have. Aaron brought coffee, settling into his usual chair. "So, what now?" "Now," I gestured to my laptop, to the contracts, to the book outline. "We keep building, not just ramps and rails, but understanding. Not just accessible spaces, but accountability. And forgiveness." I thought about my parents in their shared room, learning late lessons about worth and weakness, about Livia in therapy, finally facing her own foundation cracks. Forgiveness is optional, I said finally. Closure is constructed. And karma isn't blind, it has blueprints. The sun set fully, leaving me in the soft glow of my designed world. Tomorrow would bring more clients, more buildings, more chances to make space for everyone. But tonight, in my perfectly constructed revenge-turned-redemption, I understood what Rosalie meant. The strongest structures aren't built on forgiveness or fury. They're built on truth, on consequence, on foundations firm enough to hold both justice and growth. I closed my laptop, wheeled to my kitchen, and began preparing dinner in my accessible paradise. Some victories don't need celebration, some lessons don't need sequels, and some architects build their masterpieces from the blueprints of their scars.